And with that, we today have a webinar special guest with us, and that is Trish Sarator. She is the Senior Vice President, Communications with ASE. Trish, over to you.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar hosted by the ASE Education Foundation. As Dave said, I'm Trish Sarator, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications at ASE. And I want to personally welcome everyone joining us here today. And today is a special day. You might not know, but today is ASE's birthday. We are 48 years old today. We started, as you know, back in 1972. So happy birthday, ASE, and thank you for joining us today. We know that all of you are interested in learning as much as you can to help keep your diagnostic and repair skills sharp. But what about the human factor with all the changes that we've seen over the last several months? And that's what today's session is all about. I'm pleased to introduce today's presenter, Kyle Holt. Kyle is the president of SP2, and Kyle's going to discuss what to expect when you're expecting an entry-level technician. Kyle, thanks for being here, and take it away.
All right, thank you, Trish. I appreciate it. And what I'm going to do here is, real quick, I'm going to share my webcam so that you can put a face with the voice. And so, hello from Kansas City. I'm Kyle Holt. I'm president of SP2. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn my webcam off for the actual presentation. But at least now you know that there's a real human here behind the screen. So let's see here. Here we go. I'm gonna share my screen, and we'll kick this thing off. All right. Okay, so like Trish said, we're going to talk about what to expect when you're expecting an entry-level technician, and we're going to talk about this in terms of how the schools have been impacted over the past few months, how shops have been impacted over the past few months, and how that plays into bringing an entry-level technician into your shop and what you need to think about as that's going on. So first, I want to talk a little bit so that you have a bit of an understanding about SP2 and what we've done. So we've been providing industry-specific e-learning regarding safety, environmental, ethics, soft skills, human resources, and we have some online training courses about mentoring. That'll play into our conversation today. Every year we've got over 200,000 students across 3,000 career tech programs that are using SP2 training. And one of our goals is to make sure that those students, your next generation of technicians, are prepared to enter your shop to the best of their ability. We also work with over 2,300 shops and dealerships across the automotive service, collision repair, medium and heavy truck industry segments to help make sure that safety and environmental training is taking place in industry as well. We make sure that our systems are available to you whether you're on a computer or whether you're on a mobile device. We want to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity for a safe and successful career. Now, one of the things that we do at SP2 for our schools that we work with is we bring outside industry credentials to those students so that they can have a better understanding of how to clean, store, and maintain tools and equipment. And that's a course that WD-40 brings. Valvoline has courses on oil, fluids, chemicals, things that are going to be utilized in an automotive service shop or a diesel medium heavy truck shop. Daimler Trucks has just launched a course on heavy duty truck terminology so that students have a better understanding of the terminology they're going to be experiencing. And then we also work with the Automotive Lift Institute to make sure that students are trained on automotive lift safety before they enter the industry. We've got more of these coming, but the purpose behind this isn't just to give them a nice certificate that makes them feel good about themselves. It's to bring industry recognized information to those students so that they have a better understanding and are better prepared to work for you. In addition, SP2 also has a system called SP2 Careers. And in that system, it's a resume database and job board specifically designed for entry-level candidates who are either currently enrolled in or recently graduated from a career tech program. We've got over 80,000 candidates in that system, and as you can see, here's one of the candidates' resumes, including the work experience, education, and credentials that student has earned, and then on the right side you can see what the employers see, and that's the ability to search for and find, recruit, and ultimately hire that next generation of technician for your location. Now, all of this is to say that the preparation to get those entry-level technicians ready, we're just one piece of that. Obviously, the instructors are involved, and vendors are involved, and the entire industry is involved in pushing these students out of education and into the industry with the goal of helping them find the right first employer so that when they do enter the industry, they stay in the industry. We have far too many students that end up leaving the industry altogether within the first 2 years. In fact, 42% of graduates do not stay in industry. Now, obviously, our industry has changed. We have been significantly affected over the past few months by the pandemic. Miles driven is down, but we're recovering. And this graph that you see on the screen here, it shows that as of March 8th, it was the highest point before it began to drop. And when it dropped 58% between March 8th and April 4th. It only took a month for it to drop 58%. But between April 4th and May 1st, we've seen a 17% rebound. Now, it's not May 1st anymore. It's June 12th. So, and I don't know about you guys, but when I look around, I'm seeing a lot more cars on the road. I'm seeing more people driving. Now, has it rebounded all the way back to where it was on March 8th? No way. Has it rebounded to where it was in February or January? We won't know that until the numbers start coming out. But we're trying to find this out in real time because miles driven obviously affects the number of jobs, whether it's collision repair, automotive service, diesel. Now, these numbers on the screen are personal miles. The commercial industry only saw a decrease of about 13% in miles driven, but that still affects maintenance, service, collision repair. The good news is that through this whole thing, transportation has remained an essential business, and it will be. The moment that they try to shut transportation down, well, we all better just dust off the Conestoga wagons and go back to living in the olden days, because without transportation, without our industry, we don't have much of an economy at all. Now, some shops did close, and I'm sure that there are some people who are on this webinar today who were involved in working in a shop that may have closed down for some period of time, but many did not. Most did not. And the importance of our industry was not lost on people. While U.S. unemployment is now hovering around 16%, which is, it's reached, we're setting new records all the time in unemployment, but we're starting to recover. But during this whole thing, there were not many technicians who were wandering around looking for a job. Not many technicians were laid off. If anybody thought that there was going to be a huge amount of layoffs in terms of automotive service, collision repair, or diesel technicians, they were sorely mistaken. Now, that's not to say there was none, but we have weathered the storm fairly well compared to many industries out there. Now, having said all that, there's also been an impact on the career tech programs across the country. The instructors just graduated their first and hopefully last class of hands-on students who had to finish their year learning virtually. And this is a picture on the screen of Brock Gunter. He's an instructor up at Idaho State University. And Brock was featured in an article in which they were talking about how he was utilizing GoPro cameras and Zoom to continue educating his students virtually during the pandemic stay-at-home, school-at-home time. Now, obviously, you can look at this picture and you can see that Brock is alone in his shop environment, and he's doing the very best he can. But it is really hard to teach a hands-on job to students who are remote. And what ended up happening in career tech education is some of those students didn't actually finish learning virtually. They finished working on the job in shops because they had an opportunity to go work there. And they were getting credit for their education by being on the job. But the reality is that there were a large number of students who finished their auto service program or collision program or diesel program without putting their hands on a vehicle since March. And that leaves a gap, a hole in their education. Those students are behind the curve, and they're graduating and they're coming into the industry. And it's amazing how much knowledge can be lost when you have that big of a gap between the last time you touched a car and the next time you touch a car. You guys know this, right? I mean, you see it all the time. If you're away from it, it's hard to keep your skills up. These are students who are still learning. Now, this is historical for the career tech schools and the instructors and the students. And history is still being made. Right now, there are questions going on across the country in which instructors are wondering, what does our 2020-2021 school year look like? Are we going to start virtually? Are we going to start in person? Will it be some kind of a hybrid? Are they going to end our semester early? Are we going to have a second wave of the outbreak? Is it going to affect us on a district by district or school by school or state by state basis? And nobody really knows. I mean, right now, there are university systems who have already declared they will end in-person classes after Thanksgiving break and not reconvene in person until after the first of the year and just have an extended winter break during the normal cold and flu season. That's a big gap right there when you're talking about hands-on learning. Most people aren't thinking about career tech schools when they're thinking about schools. They're thinking about kids sitting in a classroom. But for us in our industry, we've got to be thinking about, well, what does that do, taking that student out of the shop for that long a period of time? All of this is going to impact this most recent crop of graduates who are coming into the automotive industry, as well as next year's graduates. So all of that said, let's take a stab at predicting the future for just a minute. First, I predict that a year from now, we will have a vaccine and or a treatment that will be able to be used. Now, will that vaccine be something that's a permanent vaccine? I don't know. It could be something more like the flu vaccine, where you have to get a different flu vaccine every year. Or will it just be a treatment? I don't know. But I believe that we have put so many resources on this globally that we will have something a year from now. Now, when that happens, we'll see travel and transportation come back in a big way. Everybody wants to get out and travel right now. It's the one thing that we can all agree on. We may disagree on a lot of subjects, but everybody wants to get out of the house right now. And when we can, we aren't going to be doing as much travel by airplane. We definitely won't be doing as much by bus or train or cruise ship. We will do a lot more travel by car, by truck. And as that travel increases, we will get back, if not back to normal in terms of miles driven, at least close. And it's very possible, because of the lack of desire to travel on airplanes and ships and mass transit, that we will see miles driven increase as kind of a rebound. In turn, that'll get our economy going again. Now, we see the stock market may be up, and people may be predicting that the economy is doing better and that we've already recovered. I don't believe that for a second right now. There are going to be ups and downs. Unemployment isn't going to magically drop back to 3.5% or 3.2% and have record lows like we had in January and February, which now seems so long ago. But they will start improving. Our economy will be coming back. More jobs will be happening in the auto service, collision, and diesel arenas. And with that additional business, we're going to need technicians. But we've got a problem coming. Because, again, using my telepathy, I predict that we will see technician retirement increase dramatically. The average age of a technician today is somewhere between 50 and 55 years. That's the average, which means we've got a lot of technicians who are over that age group as well. That means that we've got a lot of technicians who are in at-risk age groups. They may have pre-existing conditions. And at some point, technicians are going to be saying to themselves, hey, man, I could work a couple more years and I'd like to, but am I really going to put my life in jeopardy, my health? Maybe I'm just going to retire a couple years earlier than I had initially planned. Some technicians may just say, I don't feel safe going back. And that's going to reduce the number of technicians that we've got. We're going to lose a lot of experience and a lot of skill because of that. For the same exact reasons, we're going to see that with instructors as well. Oftentimes, instructors are retired technicians. And so, they're going to be saying the same thing, except they're not going to be saying that about working around other technicians. They're going to be saying that about going back to a school. If we have fewer technicians and we have fewer instructors, those instructors, that means we're going to have programs that are struggling to stay afloat, which means fewer students coming out of that, which means we're actually going to hurt ourselves in the process of getting ourselves back on track as the economy returns. I predict that this year, the 2020-2021 school year, will have a significantly reduced enrollment in career tech education. In fact, earlier this week, I was doing a similar presentation in conjunction with ASE and the ASE Education Foundation to instructors. One of the instructors said, hey, Kyle, in the state of Oregon, I would normally have 40 students in my career tech program. I am being limited to only 24. I have to reduce my enrollment by 40%. That's terrifying for an industry that's already got a technician shortage. And I think that it will go down this year. But I also think that a year from now, 2 years from now, we are going to see a huge uptick in career tech education enrollment. Because as unemployment is up right now, people without a job are saying, I've been working in retail, I've been working in food service, I've been working in some industry that maybe didn't require me to have skills, and now I don't have a job. But who's hiring? Oh, well, it looks like the automotive industry is. It looks like welding's hiring, construction's hiring. The skilled trades are hiring still. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my education. And so we'll see a post-secondary spike. We'll also see a high school spike because parents are going to say to their children, look, with the economy the way it is, mom or dad or both lost their job. We can't afford to send you to college. You need to go get some skills. And we'll see a spike in high school enrollment as well. So while I think it will go down temporarily, I know it's going to go up in the near future because it always goes up when the economy is bad. People always want jobs and careers. So we've got more technician candidates coming, but they're not going to be here for 2 or 3 years, which means the technician shortage is only going to get worse. Retirement goes up. We lose a bunch of our older technicians or at-risk technicians. We've got fewer students in the near term. The technician shortage is going to get worse. Now, the technician shortage is very real. These are numbers that were provided by TechForce Foundation, and these are the 2017 graduation and annual demand numbers. In 2017, we needed almost 138,000 technicians across our three primary industry segments. Post-secondary schools graduated 56,000, which means we're short 82,000 that year. That means that that shortage of 82,000 has to be made up by high school graduates who skip post-secondary education, as well as other entry-level sources. You know, finding the guy off the street who goes, "Hey man, I like cars," and you go, "Hey, all right, if you like cars, you're hired. I need somebody." Now, obviously, these numbers are a couple years old, but nothing's changed in that time. If anything, they're probably worse. This also assumes that every post-secondary graduate enters the industry, which is not true, and that's scary. So if we've got a very real technician shortage, and in the near term, it's probably going to get worse. But when there are things like the pandemic, they create opportunities. So it's time to be opportunistic. So let's start talking about how you can be opportunistic and bring those entry-level technicians on and what to expect when they start coming in. So while other companies are getting in the bunker and worrying about the near term, other shops are going to leap ahead. They're going to start recruiting technicians, and they're going to go very quickly at trying to scoop up the technicians that they've been short, knowing that the economy and jobs are going to bounce back. If you haven't already, you should start recruiting furloughed or unemployed technicians, and you should have started this yesterday, because they're probably already rehired at this point. But there may still be some out there. These would not be entry-level technicians. These would be skilled technicians who have experience in terms of years of working in our industry. So if you haven't already, you really should. You also need to start talking to every career tech instructor in your area. And I say this knowing that I'm talking to not just owners and managers. I'm also talking to technicians. If you're a technician in your shop, that does not preclude you from going out there and getting involved with your local career tech instructors and your career tech programs. In fact, if anything, you're a better testimony for the power of our industry to those young entry-level techs. They want to hear from you. They want to hear you say, "Hey, I have made an awesome career for myself. I am feeding my family." Tell them your success story. They want to hear from you. Go talk to them right now. And if you think that your budget's tight, school budgets are even tighter right now. In my presentation to instructors, I told them flat out, I said, "Look, guys, the reality is you're going to have to work harder for the same amount of industry involvement in your program this year, and probably for the next couple of years combined. Shops are going to be more hesitant, less willing to provide money, parts, equipment, donations, because they're scared. But those shops that aren't scared, those shops that see that this is a temporary situation and that we are going to come out of it, making the investment now in those programs is going to build unbelievable loyalty with the instructors, with the administrators at that school, with the students. You can build a pipeline of technicians to your shop now, while others are backing up and going, "Oh, woe is me, I can't do it right now." Look, most of the schools, they're not always looking for money. They're looking for in-kind donations. They're looking for your time. They're looking for opportunities to have their students come out and job shadow or intern or be mentored at your shop. What can you do? Anything that you can do right now is going to be huge for those schools. We also recognize that there is going to be prioritized hiring because of COVID-19. Above anything, and this isn't just because of COVID-19, this is always, every shop goes, well, how much experience do you have? Yeah, I really need experience. I understand that. Instructors understand that. Students understand that. Everybody gets that that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants the experienced technicians, but there's not many of them out there, and the number is going to continue to go down, probably at a pretty rapid rate over the next year. Start looking for ASE certifications. Some of those certifications may be the entry-level certification. Students can earn that and show that they've learned what they need to be entry-level technicians. Whether it's their entry-level, their G1, any ASE certifications are valuable. Look for students who have industry-recognized credentials. At SP2, we're one of those. I mentioned the WD-40 and Valvoline and Daimler trucks and ALI. I mentioned those, but there are lots of industry-recognized credentials out there that students can learn or can earn and show that they've learned and they've been a part of something to better themselves. That helps put them in a different category. It may take you reminding them, like, hey, do you have any industry-recognized credentials? Ask those students. Sometimes students forget to tell you. Make sure that you're looking for looking for the best of the best. And I know that experience is important, but this is reality. Those students coming out, they're going to be feeling like, I can't get a job without experience, but I can't get experience without a job. If we don't bring those entry-level technicians in and give them that first opportunity, well, they're not going to enter our industry. As an employer, as a manager, as a fellow technician in a shop, recognize that career tech students and graduates are not going to be productive technicians on day one. That's the reality. And if you're assuming that they are, then you're setting yourself and or that student up for failure. So go in with the mindset of, I understand that this person is just coming out of their education. I understand that they have not had the repetition on even the basic tasks, because an instructor is trying to cram as much and as many tasks and skills into a student's education in a 1 or 2 year period of time, and there's simply not enough time for repetitiveness. So understand they're not going to be fully productive. And if you go in with the mindset of going, okay, I want to find out where they are today and where I can take them in a month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months, and on out into their career, then you're taking on the role of the coach, and you also are setting yourself up and you're setting that student up for success. And like I said, if you don't hire them, someone else will. That could be your competition down the street, or it could be Chick-fil-A, or the local gas station, or the local Walmart. It is still competition to find and keep technicians. This is a sign that was sitting outside of a Chick-fil-A showing what they're paying starting and the benefits, including tuition reimbursement, all the things that they're doing just to try to get somebody who will come to work at Chick-fil-A. And that number probably scares a lot of people who are on this call. $16.50 is going to sound pretty good to an entry-level young man or young woman who may be getting offered $12, $13, $14 an hour to work in a shop. But there's not much of a career path at Chick-fil-A, whereas there is a heck of a career path in our industry. So you're not just competing against each other, you're also competing against other industries. Start setting up internships and mentoring opportunities now. And by now, I mean now. This summer, Start talking to instructors, reaching out to the instructors at your local schools. Let them know, hey, look, I know things have been tough. They've been tough at my shop. But what we want to do at our shop is we want to start building a pipeline of young talent that we can grow while they're learning from you too. Start setting up those internships and mentorships now so that when those students start coming back to school in the fall, they've already got a place to go, even if it's just for an hour or 2 hours a week or 8 hours a week or 20 hours a week, whatever works for the student, for the school, and for you. Set those up now. Start filling that pipeline. Other shops will be hesitant to do the same thing. It will give you a competitive advantage. You will be encouraging learning in the classroom and on the job. And if I can really get a point through on this slide, it is that when you're encouraging the students to continue learning in the classroom and to learn in your shop, you become an ally to an instructor. And those instructors are looking for alliances. They're looking for shops that aren't just trying to poach a student out of their program, but are really trying to partner with the program so that student can learn more and be better prepared. In addition, if you have internships already set up with the school, then if or when schools have to go virtual again, those students, just like we talked about earlier, they can continue to earn credit, even though they may end up working in your shop a lot more, working on the job, getting more skills. They can often get credit for that time spent in your shop at their school if they've got to go virtual. All right, so when an entry, like I said, when an entry-level technician comes in, they are not going to be productive on day one. But if you implement mentoring, if they have a specific mentor that they are teamed up with, they will learn faster. It's a proven tactic. It also increases employee loyalty by 77%. Let's drive more students into the industry and keep them in the industry. And the best way to do that is for them to have a mentor who is an ally for them, somebody who's on their team and is dedicated to helping them grow. You're not just developing future technicians when you're mentoring, you're also developing future mentors. The young technicians will see what their mentor did well and where their mentor maybe didn't do something so well. And the next young technician that comes in may end up learning from that previous mentee, that previous intern. And they can take the things that they learned from their mentor and improve upon that. It also gives you the ability to set your habits within that student, within that young technician, before they learn bad habits. And I know I can't see anybody on this call right now, but I know you're at your computers, I want you to start nodding if you've seen technicians who have bad habits out there in the industry. Now, I can't see you, but 100% of you should be nodding right now, because there are some bad habits out there. If you can create good habits when they're young, create your habits when they're young, establish that loyalty, you get a much better technician specifically tailored for your shop. Mentoring and creating a pipeline of young technicians coming into your shop is the only sustainable competitive advantage shops have anymore. Everybody markets. Everybody provides great customer service. When's the last time you heard a shop owner, manager, or technician say, you know, at our shop, we really take pride in providing bad customer service? Nobody says that. That's crazy. Everybody's providing great customer service. Everybody's marketing. Everybody's trying to drive the price down and be as competitive as possible in pricing. It all comes out in the wash. The one sustainable competitive advantage you have that you can create and that most shops don't do is creating a mentoring program and creating a pipeline of young talent coming into your shop. All right. So if you've got a young person coming in and you've already set the expectation that they are not going to be production ready from the get-go, then and you are going to create a mentoring program, you are going to create a pipeline, then there are three primary roles. There's the mentor, the experienced technician who's going to take that young technician under their wing, the mentee, and you may call him an intern, you may call him an entry-level technician, you may call him a rookie, you may have whatever word for him. I call them mentees because that mentor and mentee, it's the words are almost the same. It shows that you're a team, you're working together. And then you've got the program manager, and that's typically either the owner or a manager within the shop who's overseeing this relationship. And if need be, they'll step in. They have to make some of the business decisions related to the mentor-mentee relationship. And but that program manager is vital because they are the cheerleader. They're the ones who, if anybody else in the shop wants to create any problems for the mentor or the mentee, that program manager is the shield. They're there to go, hold on. We have made a commitment that we are going to grow our own, and we're going to do this for the long haul. Everybody just leave the mentor and mentee alone. Let them do their thing. Now, the mentor, having the right mentor is key to the success of growing entry-level technicians. Ask yourself, who is the mentor in your shop? It is not going to be the best technician. And I've said this many times. I'm sure there are people on here who have heard this. Oftentimes, an A tech is also an A-hole. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there are A techs I know listening to this right now. And you might be a prima donna. And that's great. And those A techs, they're prima donnas because they're great at what they do. Do not take them off of production and make them be a mentor. Let them focus on what they do. Usually they're telling everybody to get out of their way because they're so darn good at what they do. Let them focus on production. Do not take your best technician out and say, well, you know, you're so great. Teach them everything you know. What are you, crazy? That's taking money out of the shop's pocket. It's finding a technician who's willing to teach and train, who's patient with a young learning technician, who has high communication skills, who isn't going to bully or harass or make fun of that young technician when they make a mistake. In fact, oftentimes it's a technician who may be a B tech or even it may be the youngest technician you have in your shop. It may be the person who was most recently in that entry-level technician's shoes. If it took them 3 years to reach where they are right now, knowing what they know right now, if they've got the right attitude, they've got the willingness to teach, train, listen, be patient, communicate, maybe they can get that young entry-level technician to the same spot they are now, but do it in 2 years or 18 months. They can bring that young technician up faster because they already know what they've got to do. You can take a systematic approach to mentoring. Understand the tasks and competencies that you want that mentee to be learning. Give them the opportunity to repeat those tasks and competencies. Repetition is key. They don't get enough repetition in school because there's not enough time. Give them the opportunity to repeat. Have a compensation plan in place. I am a strong proponent of paid internships and paid mentoring opportunities. I know that times are tough and budgets are tough right now. I get it. And maybe you can do some job shadowing or a simplified unpaid internship right now because you have to. But if you can, pay them because it shows them that that there is a value to the work that they do, and there is a value to the work that all of us do in our industry. Have a plan for tools. This is something you need to expect. Expect a young technician to come in with either no tools or the bare minimum of what they need. You may have to have a plan in place to provide tools for that young technician to use while they're in the shop. Those can be the shop's tools. That's an asset that goes on your balance sheet. but have a tool plan. You know, if that young technician reaches over into somebody's toolbox and takes somebody else's tool, ooh, we could have a fight going on in the shop. So have a plan for that young tech's tools. Clearly communicate how tools will be handled, if they need to borrow tools or whatever, and make sure that that's not just clear to the mentee, also the mentor, but the mentor also needs to communicate it around the shop so that everybody is on the same page. And when you've got that entry-level technician in, focus on the basics. We've had multiple conversations over the past couple of years talking about the basic things that if an entry-level technician could walk in and they could do these 5 things for an automotive service or a diesel shop, because they're pretty similar in the items that industry wants to see: oil, fluids, filters, belts and hoses. Can you do a tire rotation? You work on tires and wheels. The basic vehicle maintenance inspection. I'm not talking about a true diagnostic, but the vehicle maintenance inspection where they're understanding what they're seeing. They may not diagnose every problem, but they can understand it, and an understanding of brakes. You've got somebody that can be productive. If you just have your mentor and mentee focus on those 5 things first, you can quickly build a valuable, productive employee who's making money for themselves and for the shop. Now, collision repair, different tasks here, but same principle. Can they detail? Can they prep for paint? Can they do the R&R on bolted parts? Small metal dent repair and plastic repair. If that young technician can do those 5 things, they've got a career ahead of them. They can learn the additional things, but giving them practice and repetition on these items are key. Now at SP2, we have an online training program regarding workplace mentoring. We talk about, we've got a course for the manager, we've got a course for the mentor, and we've got a course for the mentee. This training program is actually free on our website. So if you go to sp2.org, you can actually sign up and you can get this course at no cost. You can also call our team, and I'm going to have our website and our phone number up at the end. You can get this training course at this point in time. At some point in the future, we will be charging for it. Right now, completely free. But if you want to go more in depth on what you need to think about in terms of setting up a mentoring plan and growing your own technicians, this material is available to you. And last but not least, the number one thing that we can do as an entire industry and as individuals is that we can be patient with young technicians. Malcolm Gladwell popularized the 10,000 hour rule, and that basically says it takes 10,000 hours of repetition and work in order to be an expert at anything. If we just look at a young person, we say, hey, look, if you can't figure it out in 6 months, you're useless to me. 6 months? 6 months of working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week will get you 1,000 hours. You're a tenth of the way to expertise at that point. And yet there are far too many shops that throw away young technicians because they're not ready at 6 months, or they're not ready at a year. At a year, they've got 2,000 hours. And that's if they're working every minute of every hour they're on the job. And let's be real, nobody's doing that across the U.S. We have to be more patient, especially with our young technicians. If we're going to grow our own, let's make sure we grow them right. So, gang, with that, I'm going to stop. We've got about 14 minutes left, and I'm going to throw this back over to Dan. And Dan, ask me some questions or give me some comments that are coming in from the team. But I want to say before Dan does that, if anybody is interested in our mentoring program or our safety and environmental training, HR topics, soft skills, go to sp2.org, email our team at info@sp2.org, or give our team a call and ask the questions that you've got. We're here to help. Everything that we do is online, so we've been able to work virtually, and we'll continue to do that. But our goal is to support you, to support the schools, to support the students, to support the future of our industry. So guys, thank you for giving me this time today. And Dan, I'm going to throw it over to you, buddy.
Kyle, this is Dave. I'm just going to jump in here momentarily while Dan scours the questions pane to pull up a question. As a kind of a public service announcement, I just want everybody to know, in case you're not aware, that due to some of the things that Kyle spoke about, the COVID situation, ASE has extended ASE certifications out through December to accommodate that real world situation. So with that, Dan, what do you got?
All right, Dave and Kyle, some comments coming in. John Gustafson, sorry, John. John says, this is a very real-time presentation. They're living it today. Mentoring is a strong part of the solution. From another attendee, he asked, what do you recommend shop owners do to get employees excited about mentoring? And why would an ATEC want to slow down to become a mentor?
Great questions. Great questions. Well, first of all, John, I'm glad to hear you're living it. I'm glad. Everybody should, and we don't have enough in the industry that are. In terms of why would an ATEC not want to do that? Oftentimes, mentors or people who are interested in being mentors, the big concern is that they're going to lose money when they start mentoring. And for most ATECs, they're ATECs because they have figured out how to be extremely efficient with their time and really make the most of it. And they can, oftentimes you may have an ATEC that is a great communicator. But as an owner or a manager, if you take that person off, you're actually costing the shop money. It's usually better to leave that ATEC on, unless that ATEC may be considering retirement or wanting to slow down, or I don't want to work 60 hours a week anymore. I want to be working 20 hours a week, and I'd be happy to be a mentor at that point in time. Now, in terms of getting people excited about being a mentor, there are simple things that you can do. First of all, find a way to make sure that whoever is going to be your mentor doesn't lose money when they become a mentor. Set up a compensation plan where they are at least guaranteed what they made in the last 12 months. But then there are ways to also compensate them to bonus up on showing that they're turning that young technician into a productive technician. So it could be that I know there are some shops that pay the mentor like a salary, and the mentor also gets any clocked hours for their mentee. The mentee is on an hourly basis until they're able to move to flat rate or whatever the rest of the technicians in the shop are working at. But a lot of times if you try to put a young technician on flat rate, that young man or that young woman's going to starve, and that's not good. So getting a mentor, finding that mentor and encouraging people to become mentors, first thing is make sure they're not going to lose money. Second, show them that there's a level of respect and authority that comes with that. There are shops out there. One shop owner told me that they had all of their technicians wore blue shirts, and they bought a red shirt for the mentor, and they put that person in the red shirt, and they had the person's name on the patch on that shirt, but then they had stitched underneath mentor. And at first, the person kind of felt like out of place, like everybody else is wearing blue shirts, so I'm wearing a red shirt. But then people were saying, hey, I want to get a red shirt. How do I become a mentor? Something as simple as that elevated them in the eyes of their peers was really valuable. And the nice little add-on to that was, because he was wearing a red shirt, he was always really easy to find for his mentee. There are lots of ways that you can incentivize. It doesn't have to be money. Sometimes it's just public praise, allowing them to participate in some of the business meetings that are going on in the shop. There are lots of things that you can do, but you've got to figure that out on a shop-by-shop or business-by-business basis. What works for you?
All right.
What else we got, Dan? All right, here we go.
Itzy says, I'm a recent retired shop owner in tech. I've followed your recommendations for a long time. I've trained my best employees. However, I had to do it myself full time. The experienced techs did not want to take the time and the patience to even help the trainees, stating they could do it themselves faster than helping someone else. So you've kind of addressed some of that.
Yeah.
Ralph says that the mentorship is what the AS program at the ASE Education Foundation is about. And then Nicholas,
Right.
Aaron says, if a shop is hiring but does not have a mentoring program, is there any way to show them how productive that the mentoring program can be? And also, what if you are paired with a mentor you clash with?
Okay, there's a bunch there. So let me try to hit all of those. And if I forget one, Dan, remind me. The AES program. Yes, mentoring. The AES program is all about mentoring, and we have worked with Trish and everybody at the ASE Education Foundation, as well as ASE, in regards to what we're doing to try to make sure that we're helping with mentoring out there. This is the launch of our mentoring program was done hand in hand with the ASE Education Foundation, and some of it was based on what AS stood for a long time. I'm a huge proponent of that. I know that we can do more as an industry together, and you are dead on that. So the question about what do you do if the mentee and the mentor clash? So that is where the program manager becomes vitally important. If you've got a program manager that just tells the mentor and mentee that, well, you guys just got to figure it out. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to fail. That program manager has to be the voice of reason. They might have to be I guess an intermediary to see if things can be patched up. There are some times where it's just not going to work out. And the question is, at that point, and it's one that the program manager has to ask himself or herself and say, is this the fault of either the mentor or the mentee? Is this my fault? Did I pick the wrong mentor? Maybe I picked somebody who I thought was going to be a great trainer and they just aren't. That's happened before. Okay, we got to start over again, or try to change mentors midstream, which can be tough. It can be really tough. Maybe I hired the wrong mentee. Maybe I got somebody who came in, all brash and thought they knew everything and couldn't put themselves in a position to be a good learner. Maybe I just got people who have completely different worldviews or attitudes, or just don't get along. Is it my fault? Is it compensation? Is it our tool? Was our tool program okay? It's an evaluation. You might have to do a post-mortem if the whole thing falls apart. But if you can stay in front of those problems, if that program manager is riding herd over that relationship on a weekly basis, multiple times a week often, saying, how are things going? What are you guys working on? Let's figure out a way to judge success from failure. Let's figure out a way to evaluate objectively the progress that's being made. There are ways that program manager, if they're heavily involved from the beginning and they stay involved, that you can probably avoid a lot of those problems. But that doesn't mean you'll avoid all of them, because we're all still human, and sometimes some of us just can't get along with each other. I know I missed something in there, Dan, but that one about
I think you did well.
Okay.
Yeah. Dan made a comment that the biggest problem that he faces is that there's an age 18 cutoff because of insurance. So he's run into that problem. Do you have any solutions for that, Kyle?
Yeah. So a lot of times that is that's a business decision that has been made, and there are a lot of people out there that say, oh, insurance requires that. check with your insurance provider about that. That may be true, but a lot of times it's not. It's or you can get students who are enrolled in a school and that school will cover the insurance on that student when they're on the job, as long as it is an internship or mentoring program that has been set up in conjunction with the school. Now, obviously, if you just hire a guy part-time and say, well, he's on the school's insurance and it's not a school-sponsored internship, then that's not going to float. But if you do it in conjunction with the instructors, a lot of times that insurance issue is either taken care of by the school, or your business can go make a case to the insurance companies. And a lot of times the insurance companies go, yeah, actually, there's nothing prohibiting this. I would really fight to get around that, because those students who are in high schools, a lot of places only have a high school program near them. You know, if you've got post-secondary and high school, good for you. A lot of the country only has high school career tech programs, and you've got to find ways around that.
Okay, and then from Sherman, here's a comment for you. That's why he loves the SB2 welding cert for my students. I teach them welding as part of their automotive class, and 2 of them have gotten jobs because they've had basic welding safety. So there's a comment, positive comment for you. And then Dustin asks, as an entry-level technician, what are some of the things I should look for when looking for a shop that might be willing to mentor me?
Okay, so I love that your students got got jobs because of having their SP2 welding certificates. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Obviously, whatever we can do, whatever our partners can do, I know whatever ASE and the ASE Education Foundation can do, we want to keep doing so that more young people get jobs. For the person who's an entry-level technician looking for a shop, first of all, thank you for being on this webinar. I think it's great that you're a part of this. You've taken the initiative to listen in and hear, what are we talking about in industry in regards to helping, push your career forward. I would say look for a shop ask the shop, just ask them outright, do you have a mentoring program? If I were to walk in right now, do you have a mentor that would work with me? What are the things that I can focus on so that I can become productive as quickly as possible in your shop? Because frankly, the big concern that employers have with an entry-level technician is that at first, entry-level technicians cost them more money than they make them, and that's the big challenge. That's where owners and managers go, I'm not sure I want to hire an entry-level technician. But if you're taking the initiative to ask, what can I do so that I am productive? What kind of mentoring do you have for me? In fact, I'll tell you what, if you want access to the mentoring training, reach out to our SB2 team. You can go through it. You can actually take the mentor, the mentee, and the program manager training course, walk in with those certificates to a job and say, look, I know that I'm young and I don't know everything, but I have been trained, and I've been trained on how to run a mentoring program. So if you're not comfortable or knowledgeable enough to implement a mentoring program, I would like to help you with that, because this is the kind of place I'd like to work. Boy, that kind of initiative, again, I can't see anybody out there, but I know that there are a lot of shop managers and shop owners who would be nodding their heads going, man, that's the kind of young man or young woman I would love to hire into my shop. Somebody who says, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to help you with my own personal learning. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, Kyle, I have one more queued up. I just got to roll to it. This is from Ryan. He says, as a previous ATech, I did mentor as flat rate and got my mentees billed hours. while he got hourly.
Okay.
Eventually, once we got a full program going, I was on salary with the expectation that I was going to bill less, but overall the shop hours went up, and it worked well for that shop and for the
Good for
folks
him.
involved.
Good for him. I love it. I'm glad that you did. You know, sometimes that actually backfires in a shop. In fact, it backfires all too often, where a technician is still on their own flat rate, and they might get too many shops have tried to keep a technician on flat rate and just tell them, well, you know, fill in the gaps and just mentor while you can, and that never works well. If you were getting your mentees hours on flat rate while they were working, you were incentivized to get them up to production as fast as possible and help them make money. And that's exactly what we want to do with it doesn't matter who the technician is that's going to be a mentor. We want them incentivized to grow that young tech as quickly as possible, get them to the point that they are making money for themselves and the shop, and then everybody wins. I'm really glad to hear that it worked out for you, and I also like that you mentioned that, you know, you had, that may have been how it started, but you morphed into a more full-fledged mentoring program. Thank you for being a mentor. Guys, if anybody's out there and you feel like I insulted you with my A-techs or A-holes statement, please understand that's a joke. I use that a lot. It kind of sets the stage. The goal with that is to say, don't screw up your production. Don't make people lose money. Don't ruin your mentoring program by trying to make somebody be something they're not. And I hope that as we all work together to improve that next generation of technicians, as we help the entry-level techs get into our industry, be mentored, be productive technicians, that we do this with the right attitude and with the right heart behind it. Guys, what an amazing opportunity there is out there to create careers for young men and women and get them into a place where they can support their families, whether we're in good times or bad. There are millions of people who are out of work right now, and there are very few technicians who lost their jobs because of COVID, because it is such a highly sought after position, and we've got such a shortage. Let's go help create more technicians for our industry.
I think that brings us up to 5:05. So if you'd like to wrap up, that'd be good.
Okay.
Pass it over to Dave.
Last thing, this is Kyle. Let me say one more thing. Just again, if there's anything that we can do at SP2, just give us a call. The number's on the screen, 888-241-8332. Go to sp2.org or email us at info@sp2.org. We want to help you guys. We want more entry-level technicians coming into the industry. So please contact us. Tell us how we can help. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time today.
Kyle, and I want to thank you. This is Dave. I want to thank you for an excellent presentation based off the kind of activity we saw in the questions pane. You hit a lot of hearts with the comments you were making. Some of it was funny, some of it, you know, I think people, maybe it was looking in the mirror a little bit, but you definitely touched some people, and I'm sure you're going to be hearing from our audience because they were asking for information, contact information, and we've asked that they contact you directly since you were kind enough to put that information up on screen. Dan Baumhart, thank you for managing the questions today. You did a great job. As always, very, very big thank you to Kyle Holt from SP2 for today's insightful presentation. Clearly, there are unknowns ahead, but hopefully what you saw today puts things into some sort of perspective. This webcast was brought to you by ASE